What is up, everybody? Welcome to another World Cup preview here on Touchline Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, before I get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the other World Cup previews that I will be putting out or the rest of the content I put out every single week here on YouTube. Today, all about Group C, beginning with Costa Rica. Second World Cup appearance for Costa Rica, also made it in 2015. Just made it to the group stage, so that is obviously Costa Rica's best finish, is just qualifying and getting to the group stage in 2015. Your player to know here, Christian Granados, 4 goal involvements at the CONCACAF W Championship last summer. Also made 2 starts at the 2015 World Cup, so she has World Cup experience as well. She's the creative force for this team. If the goals are going to come, there's a good chance Christian Granados is a big part of making that happen. So that is your player to know for Costa Rica. My big question, can Costa Rica create enough chances? Because when you look at specifically that CONCACAF W Championship, game against Canada, game against the US, it's one thing to lose those games because they were expected to lose those games. But one of the things that stands out is they generated one shot in both games. If you are going to pull off an upset, if you're going to give yourself a chance to get out of this group, you have to be clinical because you're not going to get very many chances with the quality of some of the teams in this group. But also, you have to create enough chances so that you're not relying on just one. You're going to have to be clinical no matter what. But can you increase your odds just a little bit by creating 2 or 3 good chances in a game instead of one, where if you don't put that ball in the back of the net, you're not winning the game? That's my big thing for Costa Rica, is can they just get a little bit more dynamic in the final third to give themselves a couple opportunities to get a goal instead of just one shot or one good opportunity. Second team is Japan. Ninth World Cup appearance, participated in all of them dating back to 1991. Of course, their best finish, winning the World Cup in 2011. My name to know here is Risa Shimizu. She played every minute of the last 2 major tournaments for Japan, the World Cup and the Tokyo Olympics. Phenomenal player, now at West Ham in the Women's Super League, playing at a high level in Europe. Incredibly important, just incredibly reliable. Not the flashiest player in the world, not the player that's going to be scoring all your goals. But from a foundational standpoint, an important standpoint to this Japan team, Risa Shimizu is one of those foundational pieces. So I wanted to recognize that. My question here is, how much have these young players learned? You have 4 players in this World Cup squad who started multiple games at the 2019 World Cup and were under the age of 24 when they did so. This group, over these last 2 tournaments, is incredibly young. I believe it's 1 player over the age of 30 has seen the field, if I'm remembering that stat correctly. It is a lot of players in their early 20s, a lot of young, promising players who are now kind of in the veteran stage of their career where they're not doing this all for the first time. They're still absolutely in their primes. They're playing at high levels from a club standpoint. And this is kind of their second go around with everything. The talent is there. And so I'm really excited for this team to see what had they taken away from these last 2 major tournaments, because the core of this team is still growing together and still learning and has so much room for improvement and so much potential. She believes Cup suggests that there has been some improvement and some lessons have been learned. That's obviously a very different situation, and you can't just take that and apply it to the World Cup. So we're going to have to wait and see just how much experience this Japan team has gained and how much more prepared and ready they are kind of the second go around with this group of players. The third team in this group, of course, is Spain. This is Spain's third World Cup appearance. Made it in 2015, made it in 2019. Best finish, round of 16 in 2019. Your name to know, Alexia Putellas. Don't really need to explain much more than that. Ballon d'Ors, probably the best player in the world at this moment. And the other reason why Alexia Putellas is the name to know here is because she is coming off of that torn ACL that she suffered in the build up to last summer's Euros that knocked her out of that tournament and most of the club season for Barcelona as well. She is a storyline in this tournament just because she is coming back, and she made a few appearances for Barcelona. She kind of got back into game fitness at the end of the season. But she hasn't played more than 29 minutes in any of those appearances, at least the ones in La Liga. And so, is she ready to go 90? Is she back to 100%? I kind of doubt that, but there are so many storylines here with just her in particular. And so, of course, she's the star, she's the big name, but she's also one of the talking points for this team because she hasn't been playing consistently. She hasn't been starting and playing full 90s for Barcelona, even when she came back from the injury. And so this is going to just kind of be a situation where you don't really know what to expect with her other than she is on this roster. She is cleared to play. It's not a question of whether she can play or not, but how many minutes can she give you? How impactful can she be? My question, where is this team at mentally with everything they've gone through? You have a set of players who were left off of this team due to the ongoing feud with the Federation, I guess is what I'll call it, over the managerial situation, the letter that was sent. Some of those players are back in, but most of them are not. So you have that part of it too, is this is not your full-strength Spain team. How do your staples in this team, your Alexia Putellas, for example, handle that part of it? And then also, these players who are getting an opportunity that a year ago probably didn't expect to be in this position, that are getting called, have a few caps, or getting called up for the first time to fill in for these players who aren't here. How are they able to kind of process all of this? Because at full strength, this is a team that can win the tournament. This is a team built off of a Barcelona team that just won the Champions League again. Can this squad, not at full strength, with plenty of inexperienced players, still be a contender to win the tournament? That's my big thing, and I'm not sure the answer is yes. I can't rule it out because Alexia Putellas is here. But there are a lot of question marks with this Spain team that make me hesitant to believe we're going to see a best case scenario for them, which would be making a deep run, semifinal, something like that. I tend to believe it's going to be more of round of 16 quarterfinals just because of all of the uncertainty. We'll have to see them. Last team, Zambia. First World Cup appearance. This is another really cool story. Your name to know. So obviously no best finish because they've never participated before. Name to know, Barbara Banda. Back-to-back hat tricks at the Olympics kind of threw her onto the international stage, gave her a lot of attention. She did that, by the way, before she turned 20. And then she gets another round of international attention with the situation at AFCON and ultimately being ruled ineligible to play in that tournament. You can read more about that if you want. I don't want to get into it here because I want to focus on the field and the fact that this is a player who, once again, scored back-to-back hat tricks as a teenager at the Olympics. This Zambia team has some real attacking talent, and it is all built around Barbara Banda. So it's really, really cool to get to see her again at the highest level, at the biggest stage that the sport has to offer. She is your name to know. My question is, can the Stars compensate for the lack of depth? You look at this Zambia team, and you have two players, Grace Chanda and Rachel Kudananji, who are playing at what I would consider to be the highest level at a club from a club standpoint. They are the only two players at a top flight European club. And I would also throw NWSL in there. It's not like I'm excluding NWSL from this conversation. Those are your only two players playing at the highest level right now. And so Barbara Banda has high level experience. I'm not worried about that part of it. My concern is the rest of the team and just the lack of depth. They are the lowest ranked team in the FIFA World Rankings that are at this tournament for a reason. They do have some high level talent, but they just don't have the depth. So you need spectacular performances from your 3 stars, your 3 European experienced players. This could get interesting if all 3 are spectacular game in and game out and Banda scoring hat tricks. But unless that happens, they're going to be in trouble. And it still probably won't be enough even if that does happen. But that's kind of step 1 for this team is you need to have 3 of the best 5 players on the field pretty much every single game. They have the 3 players to do it. It's just asking a lot of them to do it game in and game out, but that's what Zambia is going to need. Just looking at this group as a whole, to me, there is a pretty clear-cut 1-2 with Japan and Spain. I still like Spain's chances of getting out of this group, even though as I said before, I'm hesitant about how far they can go. Costa Rica could cause some problems. You get Zambia on the wrong day, they could ruin somebody's tournament too. This is a interesting group, both from the depth standpoint and then also you have a hard time picking a favorite and separating Japan and Spain. Maybe I'm a little bit too low on Spain, but I really feel like this group is up for grabs. And so if you're Japan, can you find a way to top this group and theoretically set yourself up for a deep run in this tournament by making your life easier in the first couple rounds of the knockout stage? If you're Spain, can you win this group to avoid a really difficult round of 16 game? And of course, this is all hypothetical because who knows what happens in the other groups. But that's the other storyline I'm looking at here, is most of the other groups, there is a clear, not only a clear 1-2 in terms of the teams you expect to get to the knockout stage, but also a clear number 1 in terms of the team you expect to win the group. To me, this is a toss-up between Japan and Spain. I could see it going either way, and so every game in this group is going to kind of have that extra level of intrigue potentially because it could be so tight to see who ends up topping this group in addition to who ends up getting out of it. So that is Group C. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.